Hiya folks, welcome to the show. Now don't mind me, I'm just here drafting up my hit list. What's a hit list, you may ask? It's in the name, it's people I want to hit. Okay, so far we have everybody from high school, the critics who gave bad reviews of Oliver and Company on Rotten Tomatoes, the Badger from The Fox and the Hound, people who think CGI animated movies are automatically more mature than hand-drawn ones. Revenge! It's pretty awesome, right? Especially when it's on this guy from Beauty and the Beast. I'm sure we've all had those characters in movies we would love nothing more than to get a healthy dose of karma and possibly a stabbing or two for good measure. Well, I think it's about time we take a look at some of these moving pieces of paper and see which of them would no doubt be cancelled if they had Twitter accounts. The only rule is no outright villains. Why? Yeah, they tend to get what they deserve.
So I can bring Bolt home?
As your friend, I say yes, absolutely. But as your agent, I have to remind you, this is Bolt's world. He has to stay right here. Okay, let's go.
You know this list is gonna be good when this piece of work only barely makes it in. Penny's nameless agent from Bolt is one of the most heartless and sleazy characters the House of Mouse has ever produced, and I'm surprised more people don't talk about him. His arrogance and refusal to listen to anyone else's opinion but his own, his manipulative tendencies, his blatant disregard for his client's well-being to a point where he was almost disturbingly ready to capitalise on her near-death experience. So why is he so low on the list? Well, he does technically get comeuppance when he's thrown out of an ambulance and fired, but let's be honest, he still deserved way worse. Here's to you, nameless agent. I hope one day someone takes 2 pins and jams them right into your eyes.
We're going to make this work for us. I'm talking cover stories, production deals, executive producer credit. This is so great!
Yes, about that,
You outbid.
What?
a fella came in, offered the full amount in cash. Less you can top his offer by Wednesday.
You can kiss that place goodbye.
Do I even need to say anything here? These 2 wastes of pencil lead have around a minute of screen time in the movie, and they don't waste a second in making you utterly despise them. It doesn't help the fact during their introduction they're dressed as an ass, but they then proceed to not only crush Tiana's dreams, but belittle her with sexist and racist microaggressions. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to headcanon that Lewis mauled them off screen and move on because I'd rather not talk about these 2 any longer than I absolutely have to.
Look, you probably can't read, Fox, but the sign says, "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, so beat it."
Take everything you hated about the Fenner brothers and add unhygienic with a blatant disregard for his customers' health and you have Jerry Jumbo Jr. from Zootopia. This scene is also the first time you get a true sense of how divided the city is. Up until this point in the movie, we've been shown how the society is pretty much accessible to all animals, even having several sized doors for public transportation. Jerry Jumbo Jr.'s ice cream shop isn't accustomed to accommodate anyone smaller than an elephant, which already tells you everything you need to know about this guy. And then, to make things worse, he starts speaking.
Listen, buddy, what? There aren't any Fox ice cream joints in your part of town?
I really hope Judy filed that Class 3 health code violation, cause this guy does not deserve to keep running a business.
Remember how I told you it would be better for you just to lay low, don't call attention to yourself, right?
Yes, but
See,
I was-
it's like a game. Yeah, a game of hide and seek, except the gold is never to be found, ever.
Now the entire internet absolutely loathes this character. And I'm no different. Buck Cluck is the one thing holding Chicken Little back from being seen as an at least okay movie by most people. In concept, Buck sounds like a fine character. Sure, he's a trope that's a little overdone, but it's Disney. They'll do something interesting with it. And yeah, these writing choices are very interesting. It's fascinating how badly this character is executed in the movie, to a point where every line of dialogue just reinforces how mean-spirited and detestable he is. He's so spineless and afraid of being embarrassed by his own child that he just destroys his son's self-esteem every chance he gets. And the only time he shows the slightest bit of affection is when Chicken Little isn't being ostracized by the entire town. If there is one good thing you can say about the way Buck's character was written, it's that it succeeds in making you feel sorry for the protagonist. Like, can someone give him a hug? Or at least a meeting with child services? Really, either one will do. And before we move on to the number 1 spot, let's take a look at some dishonorable mentions. Characters that, while I still find them deplorable, weren't quite toxic enough to make it onto the list.
It's the dungeon for you, boy.
Get off! Let him go!
Looky here, men. A street mouse. So, it's you again. Hmm? You barged in on me last night, and now you...
I didn't mean to.
Just look at them. The mess you made.
A weed.
I'm not a weed.
Well, you wouldn't expect her to admit it, can you imagine? Well, goodness! Don't let her stay here and go to seed. Go on now, don't you take your... Please, girl.
We don't want weeds in our bed.
Move it on, move it on.
All right, if that's the way you feel about it. If I were my right size, I could pick every one of you if I wanted to. And I guess that'd teach you.
Please, sir. My father has already fought brave.
Silence! You would do well to teach your daughter to hold her tongue in a man's presence.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. Chifu is possibly my most hated character in all of fiction. Now, most of the entries on this list are arguably worse, but they're only in the movie for one or a few scenes. Audience have to be subjected to this misogynistic asshole for most of the movie. Chifu is the real villain in the story, I don't care what anyone says. Sure, Shan Yu murdered an entire village and an army, but at least he respects women. Massive props to James Hong, who somehow manages to make each and every line of dialogue sound more condescending and vitriolic than the last. But the worst part of all this is that the movie has the gall to tease us with the idea of him being punished by losing his job, and then it goes back on it. I mean, I get Mulan wants to go home, but the Emperor could have picked literally anyone else to take the job. Personally, I think it should have been Ling, but hey, I'm not the Emperor of China, so what do I know? At least he's not in the sequel, so we've got that going for us at least. Probably off-screen dealing with all the complaints he's gotten from human resources. Who'd have thought the Disney company could turn out such despicable monsters? Oh, and those characters were pretty bad too, I guess. On the bright side, I finally finished my hit list, so why don't we take a look at the people I hate the most in this world? Okay, we have me again, me with a funny hat, me from 5 years ago, me 5 years from now probably, me during that obnoxious backwards hat phase, me times 2, and me filming this right now. Probably should have seen that coming.